Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome in. Welcome back to the Top Flight Pod. You know what it is. You know what we're here to do. We're back on screen today. Beautiful Austin, Texas. I'm with my G, my bro, Primo. What's up, mate? How are you doing? That jersey that you got on, what a little throwback there. That reminds me of, oof, man. That reminds me of our first stew, man. That reminds me of way back in the day, man. I mean, it also reminds me of Danny Band's, Ricky Band's brother, and the whole situation with the Verde store. Oh man, the memories, Primo. But hey, happy Valentine's Day, brother. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. How are you doing, Primo? Welcome, brother. Happy to have you here.
Yes, sir. I'm good. I'm good. It was a good weekend. Valentine's Day for sure. Spent a good time with my wife, and I hope everyone else had a good one. And yeah, man, a little throwback. I had to, I went through the closet to see what I had, and I saw this. It just reminds me of that first season, man, that 2021 season. I remember people were going crazy for this for a while. They were like
Yeah, yeah.
almost demanding, like, hey, give us that jersey. And it was cool. It was cool, but it's a nice jersey. I like it. Nice little long sleeve. Keeper kid.
You remember the saga with our friend Brad, the Verde keeper kid
Oh,
Brad? That started a whole thing just because of that jersey. I clearly remember that. There was a whole promo release with Brad Stewart.
oh yeah,
Oh, you remember that? Oh man, the
the
memories,
promo.
brother. I
Yeah.
mean, it's always we always go to the memories right when we're about to go into a new season, and literally next week, Primo, literally next Sunday, we're gonna be reacting to the match, the home opener that's gonna be against Minnesota. So, my Sunday, I took a little bit of time to be with the family. I wasn't able to make it to that event that they had at the domain in the north side because I wanted to spend this last weekend with the fam. Starting next week. Saturdays are going to be practically eliminated from my schedule because it's going to be Austin FC stuff. So they know, I know, and we went to church, we had dinner, all this and that. It was a good weekend for me and my family. So, just wanted to kind of mentally get myself ready for what's about to come in the next couple of weeks and months and until the end of the year for us here at We're Austin TV. But I want to send a shout out to everybody on the Patreon, everybody on the Discord. Going into this new season, if you like our work, if you appreciate what we do, one of the ways to support us is by joining that Patreon, by joining that uh, Discord chat. You get access to it via the Patreon subscription. That's a good way to kind of keep us going, add fuel into the tank, and it helps us get around and make things easier for We're Watching TV. But we appreciate all the support that we already have, all the support that we already get from everybody. So excited for this year that is about to commence next week, Primo. But yeah, just want to send a shout out to everybody in the chat. A couple of birthdays to get out of the way. We have Roberto Monares, Academy lad. It is his birthday. I want to send a shout out to him, much like last week, we sent a shout out to Diego Valencia's brother. So, any birthdays out there in the Verde community, in the Verde universe, happy birthday, mates. Happy birthday, lads. And
Happy
of course,
birthday. Happy birthday.
happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. And actually, Primo, that's one of the things that I wanted to start off today's episode because I've gotten comments saying, "Hey, you need to put more coverage of the academy onto your pod." So I kind of wanted to start off with the lads from the academy today, if I can, Primo. Over the weekend, RDZ Flicks and I, and also Shot by Mitchell, we made our way down to Palmer Field right there. Obviously off of Palmer. Orlando came into town, one of the best academies in the nation. I knew what I was going into. I knew that I was going to see two very good sides go at it. Unfortunately, Orlando got the best of Austin at the 18 level and at the 16 level. Those are the two games that I was able to catch. Unfortunately, the U15s were playing at the same time as the 16s on another field. But boy, oh boy, did the rain come down when the U16s kicked off right around noon. Pretty well. I mean, we watched the first half, but then we all had to run to our vehicles because it was just raining bullets. The rain was also brought in. The wind also brought in that rain, so it was just really hectic. But I just wanted to get a couple things out there from the academy, a couple of thoughts that I had, some things that I saw. Starting off with the U18s, if you were there, parents really, a lot of family friends that are there, but the people that were there watching this game, I think we can all agree that the first half for the U18s was very level. It was 0-0 going into the half. Both teams were very solid. You can tell that they had clear ideas of how they wanted to, damage one another, but both defenses were pretty damn strong. On the Austin FC side, John Ayala and his partner, number 15, if I'm not mistaken, they were actually putting in a really good shift against the Orlando attack, shutting down things, not letting their keeper be troubled really. In the air, they were struggling a little bit. Orlando, they got some good headers. However, it went over the bar. They weren't really directed to goal, but they were getting, some crosses in, and they were, at least making some people there maybe gasp a little bit when they saw that they were rising up to the air. I want to send a shout out to Alvaro. He was the Austin FC. He's the right back, if I'm not mistaken. He was doing a phenomenal job against the Orlando number 11, which really impressed me. And shout out to my G Kevin Vance as we were watching this game next to each other. We were sitting down watching this game, and we were both agreeing. We were saying, "Man, this number 11 from Orlando, their left winger, he's actually cooking." But like I said, the first half, they had that Orlando attack pretty quiet. They knew how to deal with them. Alvaro was doing a phenomenal job. And Austin's center backs were also doing a really good job protecting their keeper. There were some great saves that were made as well. But then the second half came around, and of course, gas starts to, kind of go down in the tank. Substitutions were made. And I think Orlando won that side of it. And ultimately, they got the result that they wanted. In the second half, they got 3 goals. 2 of them were almost exactly the same. And the third one, John Ayala could have cleared it via a slide tackle. He slightly mistimed it. And, of course, Orlando punishes Austin FC to get that third goal. But even then, Primo, I never saw them drop their heads. I never saw them, thinking, okay, well, this is over. We're going to stop going at this Orlando side. I always saw them with their heads up, trying to go forward. And I think there was some substitutions that were made that changed a little bit of the lines, obviously trying to go forward. And, when you go in to watch the first team, Primo, you have more of an idea of being critical of these guys. That's when they're at the highest level. They get paid the big bucks. But when you start to look into the MLS Next Pro and the academy systems, it's not really whenever you play a game, you want to win it. But when you get into these levels of MLS Next Pro and MLS Next, the development also has a lot to do with it, Primo. And, that's something that people have to keep in mind. I'm sure a lot of folks know that already. And the result does matter, but the development also plays a key part in it. And like I said, Orlando was able to get the best of Austin at the U18 level. But what I really liked about the guys is that, they always kept their head up. They always went at Orlando at 1-0, at 2-0, at 3-0. And that's something that you obviously want to see in your players, how they react to these situations. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Primo, Orlando is one of the best academies in the nation. I've heard a lot of great things about these guys, and I saw it 100%. And then the other match that I saw, Primo, with RDZ Flicks and also shot by Mitchell, we were bouncing around. There's 3 different fields that you can watch. We went into the field closest to the parking lot to watch the U16s. Important to note, they were missing 5 players. I know just a few of them off the top of my head. This gentleman right here, Eric Feliciano, Academy forward, he was called up to the U.S. Boys National Team U16 camp in Fayetteville, Georgia. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on Eric, but based off of things that I've heard of people that are very knowledgeable of that level, they tell me that he's a very technical player. He's very good with the ball at his feet. He's fast. He's a baller. And along with Roberto Monares last match day against Nashville, they had multiple goals. So, clearly somebody that they would have loved to have had against Orlando. He wasn't there. Also, JP Mendes, he was not there as well. He is another baller. So there was multiple absences in this U16 side. But even then, Primo, with all the things going against them, they still had a really good game against this Orlando side before the rain really messed it up. The rain made them stop. They went back inside, then they came back out and started training or whatnot. But when the game was going without any interruptions, Orlando did go up 2-0 off of a freakish corner kick goal and then a long range effort. But even then, this Austin FC side went right back at them. They scored a goal before the first half ended. They were right back in it. It ended 2-1. That was the full-time result. But even with all the absences that they had, they still showed a really good face against one of the best teams in the nation, which is this Orlando Academy side, the U16 side. At all levels, Orlando is just usually pretty good. But the U16 side, I was very impressed with how they dealt with all the absences or whatnot. Shout out to Clayton, very, very good center back in the back, very safe. 805 Cruz had to. I don't know if that's his position 100% now. I'm more used to seeing him in the midfield, but he was dropping back on defense. And no, I just I was actually happy with the effort that the U16s put on, even with everything going against them, playing against this Orlando side, and they just never gave up. So the U16s, Primo, they have been putting in a lot of good results together. This is one of their first losses in a few match days, so nothing to really be too upset about. I think that the academy sides, they showed some positives, at least in defeat. And that's something that you want to see at this level. You want to see how these boys react to when they go down, to when they lose a ball, to when they mess something up on the field. That's something that I always keep an eye out for. And I saw some positives, even though I did see 2 L's at the academy side. I've seen them win multiple games, so I'm not tripping about these L's or whatnot. I know what these boys can do. But that's kind of all I wanted to say on these academy players. This 805 Cruz right here, this is from last week's match day. Some photos that RDZ Flicks took. You can see here 805 Cruz with his Justin Bieber hair. This gentleman here in the bottom right corner, he's also really good, if I'm not mistaken. That's Luke Garcia. Really like to see these guys play because I get a preview of what's coming in the future, Primo. But this kind of me ranting. I was there. You can see the stories on social media. I was there with a big umbrella. The rain was absolutely destroying us. But no, I had a good time, and I encourage I encourage people to go out there on the weekends and catch these free academy games and go support some of these young lads because they would really appreciate some more love from the Austin FC community because they're part of the club too.
No, for sure, man. That's really great. That's really good insight. I'm glad that you go out and cover these academy teams that, like you said, they're all under the Austin FC umbrella, which that's what we cover. So how do you get familiar with these players? Because I know you mentioned some of these players by first name. You might not know their last name, but what's the best way to get familiar with some of these players? Like I know some of them might have social medias, some of them might be on the websites or things like that. But what's like the best way to kind of maybe follow a team or follow the roster? Like, can you even find like a roster online or anything like that?
Yeah. So that's actually a really good question, Primo. Austin FC, they are phenomenal on that side. They have the entire rosters on their website. You can go to the academy bar and you can see the different age groups, the different squads, and they're pretty well updated. There's a couple new players that maybe don't have their picture on there yet, but their name is down there. And secondly, social media, Instagram, definitely. I have this thing where any academy player that follows We're Austin TV, instant follow back because I want to get to know you. I want to know what your style of play is. And most importantly, I want to see how you deal with your social media because that's a new thing that the world is dealing with. That's a new thing that players deal with. How are you on social media? Are you wilding out on socials, or are you a professional? Are you a professional even at that age, Primo? Because I know for a fact that universities look at your social medias when they're thinking about offering you scholarships or anything like that. That does play, that does go a very long way. And even then, at least now, what I'm starting to see is some Instagrams of these players are managed by parents. So, that just goes to show how important, social media is in some of these young players' lives. So I get to know them quite a few based off of their posts on socials or whatnot. That's how I get their first names, kind of in the back of my mind or in my library of archives, but also talking to some of these parents. But when I go to the academy games, I meet some parents. They recognize me. They say, "Hey, you're so-and-so from the page. Hey, what's up? Yeah, it's me." They tell me, "Thank you for being out here. Thank you for giving the boys a little bit of more spotlight or whatnot." And I say, "Hey, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to get these boys up, get their name out there." And that's exactly why I do it. But parents, social media, and the Austin FC website, that's how I kind of keep track of all these guys. And I'm not gonna lie, there's been some players where I've been really high on, and they've left. You gotta be able to have a lot of room in your head and your archive to get a player in and then get him out, because there's been a lot of turnover at the academy. Like Thomas Birchfield, I was really high on him. He was one of the biggest prospects in the nation, and then out of nowhere, he was gone. He's now with North Texas, and so it is what it is. But social media, parents, and the website, pretty much. That's all I got to say on that, man. So shout out to the boys. They love it whenever they see us out there. Shout out to RDZ Flicks. Shout out to Shaban Mitchell. Shout out to Dante and Aaron, and also Osvaldo as well. But honestly, other than the club, there's really not somebody or another outlet that's doing for the academy kind of what we do. And if we had more time, we'd be doing a lot more things with them. But no, yeah, definitely. I love going out there. I love watching those boys play. They're the future of the club, and that's why I kind of do it. Right? But next week they play at home, if I'm not mistaken, against Colorado. So if you want, go to the Palmer Field, check out these free games. They're very early on Saturdays. You don't got to kill the whole weekend for that. I know next weekend is going to be busy for a lot of folks, but if you're in the north side, if you live around Palmer, go catch some free games and look at the future of the club. I'd be very happy if some of those boys make it to the first team one day. But all righty, pretty much. I do want to move on to well, actually, before that, I didn't really give his flowers to Eric Feliciano. This is a young man that got called up to the U.S. boys. We see his name there, Eric Feliciano. He's from Orlando, so it just kind of goes to show you the hotbed that Orlando is for talent. We had to poach him from over there and brought him to the Austin FC Academy systems. But you see here, February camp, Eric Feliciano putting Austin FC on the map. And he's not the only one that has been called up. He's just the only one right now for this episode. So Austin has had a lot of success in sending boys out to national team call-ups or whatnot. But I wanted to give him his flowers. I wasn't able to see him this weekend. I wanted to see him play, but it's just going to make me go back and see who this Eric Feliciano boy really is. I'm excited. And also, shout out to Oliver Hamadi. His father tagged us in a story this morning where he had a hat trick in his first MLS Next game of 2026. And he's a player, Primo, that I've seen multiple videos and clips of a rocket of a shot that he has, dude. I mean, banger off the crossbar kind of stuff. And I know it's Oliver Hamadi because I was like, who is this kid? Who is this guy? And he's one of the new players that doesn't have a picture on the website, or at least when I was looking at it. But no, his father tagged us in one of the videos, and I said, "Hey, thank you for sharing it." We obviously put it on our story, and he's another player that I'm also very high on, Oliver Hamadi, one of the newer guys in the academy system. So shout out to them. But alrighty, enough academy talk. We're gonna be trying to do a lot more of this because they definitely do need a little bit more coverage. But like I said, next week, free games. Take your friends, take your family, and go support the future of the club. But alrighty, Primo. Rolling into some more Austin FC news, we got to talk about the new kit. The Rooted in ATX jersey was released, Primo. As you can see, Ilya Sanchez on screen there, rocking what I'm calling the chocolate chip mint ice cream jersey. My favorite ice cream. As soon as I saw it, I was like, babe, let's go get a pint. We got to bring one home. And no, honestly, man, this is I don't want to have recency bias on it, but this is one of the nicer kits that Austin FC has had, at least away kits. At least I really like the home kit that Austin FC has right now. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Primo. We have photos of the Rooted in ATX kit that we have on screen here. Danny Pereira rocking it. If you look at the details, mate, you could see that there's some stars in the black tree here, and apparently that is for the World Cup that is coming this year to the United States. I really like the details in the Adidas logo right there. You could see it. Another thing about this, Primo, is you could see that in the back it's completely different than the front. You have Vasquez obviously here modeling the kit, Superman, a white back. In this jersey. I thought that was very, very interesting. Some folks in the chat were saying, well, hey, at least now we can see what the player's number and name a little bit easier. But Primo, I wanted to get your take on this, mate. I mean, what are your thoughts on this new kit, on this new jersey? Another detail here, as you can see, are the socks. Robert Taylor's rocking them here on screen. You got the 512. I thought that was a really, really cool detail. What are your thoughts on this new jersey, Primo? It is the Rooted in ATX kit. What do you think of it?
I love it, man. I think it's a fire jersey. I like everything about it, the colors, the black. I really like the black on it. It makes it kind of just pop out a little bit more. I like that green that they use, and I don't think we've used that shade before. I like everything about it. It's for sure a cop. I like the full kit. Also, I like the white shorts with the socks, white socks. And all the little small details are always they always take their time to add, some kind of small detail, always related to Austin. This year, it's I think they have
And
like
the jock, yeah, they have the rooted in ATX in the back.
rooted in ATX, and then the tag. I think it's the tree with the Congress
Yeah.
Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really nice touch right there. Um, but overall, I want to. I think I'm gonna put this one as my number one away kit.
Recency
I think
bias,
I'm gonna do it.
man.
I think I'm gonna
Recency
do it. I'm
bias.
gonna do it. I think I really liked. I'll be honest. I
The
don't think I've
armadillo one, the
really.
armadillo one, the armadillo primo. I think that's one of the nicest kits. And let
Valid.
me stop you right here. Let me stop you right here. My girl is probably the biggest fashion icon that I've ever met in my life, and her favorite kit has been the armadillo one. She said it is the nicest jersey Austin FC has ever had, and I'm gonna stick with her. I'm gonna definitely stick with her, mate. I mean, this one is nice. Don't get me wrong, this one is nice, but the armadillo kit, it was something, bro. It was something special. I'm not gonna lie, and all of those should be on sale right now. So if you're one of those people that are weary about spending $150 to $200 on a jersey, right now is a perfect time to go out there and get that armadillo kit. I think you could probably get it at the soccer post stores across Austin. Hit up Rigo. You might be able to find it there. But Primo, I'm gonna put the armadillo kit over this rooted in ATX jersey. It might grow on me. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm also gonna say this: I wasn't a big fan of the white shorts, bro. I wish they would have been black. I would have loved to see black shorts on this kit. But maybe somebody's gonna be like, no, it would have thrown off the whole vibe, the whole look on it, or whatnot. But overall, I'll give this whole uniform an 8 out of 10. It's nice. It's nice, 100%. But I think the armadillo one still has it beat. What do you think?
I mean, the armadillo one's nice. I like the armadillo. Don't get me wrong. That one's nice. It's up there for sure. But I think I just like the green on it. I like the stripes.
Yeah.
I feel like if I were to get on, those like jersey creator website, I feel like this is just something I would just make up.
You got good
It
taste.
it speaks to me. I like it. The only thing I think I would do different, and this is just me. I think I would want to go back to like this badge for the away jerseys.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I think I would want this badge on there with the same accent, just maybe all
Hmm.
black. Um, I I'm not like a huge fan of this one, but I think if it had this, the original logo, I think it'll look a lot better.
Fair.
That's just me.
Fair, mate. Well, it got a really good reception online. A lot of folks are really, really happy with this design, with this new jersey. I think it's very breathable. I really like the
Mm,
colors on it. It's perfect for the summer. You know how bad it can get down here. And the one thing that maybe folks didn't really wrap their or weren't able to wrap their head around is this is the away kit. It has to look different than the home kit. The green
yeah,
has to be different. It cannot be the same. If not, you got two home kits. So I really like the fact that it's completely different to the home kit. It's a whole nother, there's a whole nother outfit that you can plan out with this jersey. Even if you rock it downtown, if you go to Domain, wherever you go and you rock this jersey as like a streetwear fashion kind of thing, you could do a lot of things with it. You know what I'm saying? But, overall, like I said, 8 out of 10 for me. Look at it. It just looks breathable. It looks great for the summers down here in Texas. And honestly, the white back on this, I'm liking a lot. I think people were very critical of it, saying that it was a half jersey. I like it. I like that it's a different, something different in the back. It is what it is. We all have our different opinions on it, but overall, this is something I'm gonna buy. This is something I'm gonna buy, maybe two of, so I can get one just nasty dirty. But really good jersey, really good design. Not my favorite right now, but it is up there. I'd say number two out of my top three. But rooted in ATX kit, it is a cop, like you said, Primo, 100%. And hopefully, folks out there are maybe feeling the same or whatnot. I don't think Austin FC missed on this one. Not at all. Not at all. I saw a lot
yeah.
of
I
folks
think it's good.
outside of Austin kind of put this in like a B level or whatnot. But hey, that's them. I know folks down here in Austin were really, really appreciative of the design, and we can just leave it there. You can get it at the Verde store. You can go to Soccer Post or whatnot. I'm sure it's all over Austin by now. But yeah, just go ahead and get you the new kit. And we'll probably see a lot of these on Saturday at the stadium. But
Oh, for
alrighty,
sure.
mate. Alrighty, I want to, I guess, get into the preseason recaps, I guess, of this SKC match. I know a lot of folks on the Discord chat were maybe waiting for me to absolutely demolish maybe some topics, maybe ready for me to maybe get the bulldozer and just go right over this SKC game or whatnot. But I think that there's a lot of things that we have to consider, a lot of factors that we have to, take into account when we're talking about any preseason match for Austin FC this year. So let's get into it, mate. Austin FC went down to SKC in the final match at the Coachella Valley Invitational, the final match of the 2026 preseason. As you can see here on screen, 2-0 is what SKC needed, but that really wasn't it. It wasn't the full story, Primo. I was watching the Academy games and also keeping up with this match. It was streamed online. You were able to watch it on the Austin FC website. And I guess we have to say that this was also like the Academy U18 game. It was a tale of two halves. The first half, it was more balanced. It was 0-0. There was a lot of more back and forth. You can say that Austin FC was trying new ideas. We'll get into the starting 11 here in a couple of seconds. But overall, I can say it was a tale of two halves like that U18 game. The second half was an absolute shit show, if I must say. Pardon my language, but that's exactly what it was. When a preseason match, has 3 red cards, direct red cards. I don't know if there's another way that I could put it other than that word that I just dropped a couple seconds ago here on the pod. But Primo, before we get into the starting 11, mate, what was your initial reaction to this 2-0 preseason defeat to SKC? I'll get into some of the factors that we have to take into account that some folks are going to maybe say that they're excuses, but they're realities. So what do you think about this 2-0, mate? I mean, like I said, there's a lot of things that we have to unpack before we, fully cast judgment on this preseason.
If I'm being completely honest, I did not like it. I did not like it. It's kind of, but it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to overlook. At the end of the day, I mean, you can say it's preseason, which preseason can be used for so many, things, just depending on what your team is needing. I mean, teams needing to build up some kind of chemistry. That's what that is for. If you want to try new ideas, new formations, that's what preseason is for, right? But at the end of the day, not to get like a win out of this Coachella Valley little tournament preseason thing that they do. Kind of hard to overlook, I'll be honest. A win would have been nice, especially the one versus SKC. I think a win would have been nice going into the first game. But it's preseason. Some of these guys, I think, they got their first, taste of what's probably going to look like on game day. They're maybe still getting familiar with each other. But I'm not gonna lose any kind of hope or anything. I think we're still gonna look good coming match day 1. I think we still have a good solid team. I don't think this is really gonna define what the beginning of the season is gonna look like for us. I think there's still
100%, mate. 100%. And I really like what you said, that it's hard to overlook the way that Austin FC kind of went out of this Coachella Valley Invitational. Like you said, there was no win at the CVI. There was 2 losses and 1 draw, that 2-2 against Chicago, which was probably the best that Austin looked at CVI. And none of the fans were able to see it unless they were there, right? This was one of the matches that was not streamed, unless you were there at the CVI, or else or if you had maybe, that So Raven eye where you could be able to look at the club updates and see some things that not everybody else is. It's a tough pill to swallow for the fans. You're absolutely spot on, mate, when you said that you just can't overlook some of these things. And like you said, and I'm right there with you whenever we say, hey, well, you can't. There's no indication that what happened in preseason is going to carry on into the rest of the year, and that's going to be exactly the year that you're going to have. And I saw a lot of those kind of comments on social media, on Instagram, kind of saying, oh, man, we're in trouble. Oh, it's going to be a long season. Oh, there was some folks calling for the coach's head there was some folks saying fire Nico, and I said, pause, hit the brakes, guys.
That was a
No
joke.
coach gets fired from a poor preseason. This is preseason. It's about trying new ideas, and in terms of, and I even said this. I said, in my time covering the club, this has been the most underwhelming preseason, but it is preseason. And when I put that out there, and then today I woke up and I was kind of just reflecting on what the preseason was for Austin FC, and I said, in my head, I was talking to myself. I said, well, in terms of results, it was a poor preseason, right? But we also have to consider the fact that there was multiple players out for Austin FC for a big chunk of this preseason. Facundo Torres and Mirto Suni came into the picture in the second game at the Coachella Valley Invitational. You didn't have Mikel Dessler at all. You didn't have Brandon Vasquez at all. You don't have Owen Wolf at all for this preseason. You get the new guys in. You're trying Joseph Rosales in multiple positions in the offense, not even training as a fullback, right? And you have Robert Taylor, who you still need to get him going. He gets a goal. You have Jaden Nelson, who's a new guy in this team. He's starting to get he's starting to get things going for himself. And John Bell, all those new players. This is somewhat of a new group of guys, or it has guys that are new to this group. So in terms of results, Primo, it was underwhelming. But in preseason, how much do the results really matter, right? There are facts, right? It is something that you can at least maybe go back to and see, oh, well, this is how this game ended. But in preseason, how much exactly does a result matter, right? I have here on my notes that Austin FC, the record that they had at the Coachella Valley Invitational, in the 2026 preseason was 1 win, 3 losses, 2 draws, 3 goals scored by Alastwe, Robert Taylor, and Jaden Nelson. Those are the facts, right? But how much does the result even matter in preseason at the end of the day? And we're going to get to the red cards, right? We're going to get to that second half against SKC, which was a circus, if I'm not mistaken. But how much do results even matter in preseason, right? Now, I was mentioning this on social media to fans that maybe wanted to, be very combative about this result. And I don't blame them. Because the fans want to believe, Primo. The fans want to believe, and that's up for the players. That's not up for us to make the fans believe. It's up to the players with their performances. But if the players put a good performance against Minnesota on Saturday, this all goes out the window. This all goes out the window, and it flies out the window like you're going 80 miles an hour down the highway. It goes away, right? But what the fans don't want to see on Saturday is the same kind of maybe underwhelming performances to some that we saw in preseason or whatnot. But like I said again, how much are the results even worth talking about? I'm sorry, that's not what I'm trying to say. How much weight do the results even carry in preseason when we're talking about, going into next week against Minnesota? I don't think they carry too much weight, but they are talking points. They are something that, something you just can't look over. And I know I'm kind of rambling. I'm kind of going all over the place. But just last thing on that, Primo. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? That there's no real indication that what happened at the CVI and in preseason doesn't mean that it's going to carry on to Minnesota next Saturday.
Right. No, for sure. I see that part of it. For example, there's been times where a team has a good preseason, quote unquote, and then, do pretty average throughout the official season. So, I feel like it's happened to us before. I feel like our very first preseason, I think we had a decent one, and, it just didn't carry over. So, it's there's a lot of pieces missing also. You got Brandon Vasquez still missing, Owen Wolf, which I think is one of your most crucial parts, I think, of this whole roster. So without them two there, it's really hard to say, what this team is really going to look like. Now it'll be maybe a different story once we do get the full team, but as of right now, even going into the first games, I think, we're not going to have that full roster. So we'll see how that looks like, but there's no indication that this is going to carry over, like you said.
Now, if it does, get ready for the fans to, get the pitchforks out, get the torches out or whatnot. They're not going to be too happy. But, based off of some posts that I saw on social media today from the players, they put their captions out there. They put their photos of the last couple of times that they were out at CVI. And they were saying full focus now on the season. I saw Jaden Nelson say it's time to let the season talk. So maybe they see some of the complaints from the fans on social media for a quote unquote underwhelming preseason based on results. But like I said earlier, how much do the results even matter when we're talking about preseason, right? It is facts. It is facts. That's how games end. And like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the academy, you go into a game and you want to win it. It doesn't matter if it's Monopoly. It doesn't matter if you're playing Mario Kart 64 or you're playing a preseason match at the CBI. Our brain wants to win a game, but we don't know exactly what the instructions were for Austin MC. They're obviously trying new ideas. They're obviously trying new players out. Joseph Rosales is playing multiple positions in the attack, and you got to get players like Robert Taylor going again. And Mirto Sony playing his first ever minutes in preseason ever. If we remember last year, he wasn't able to get here in time to get any preseason minutes under his belt. Facundo Torres gets his first minutes with Austin FC in preseason ever. So those are the things to also keep in mind. You know what I'm saying? But talking about the starting 11, Primo, we have here in goal Brad Stuber. On defense, you had Johnny G, of course, there because Miko Desra has not been fit this entire preseason, and I'm actually concerned about that. That's the biggest concern that I have leaving this preseason. I think that's a real concern to have. Alexander Svatok and Brendan Heinzlach made up the center back pair. Guilherme Biro on the left, which we're going to talk about him because he's still giving us a lot to talk about. Dani Pereira in the midfield with Ilya Sanchez as captain, with Facundo Torres occupying that 10 slot. And then you had Jaden Nelson on the left, Rosales on the right, and Mirto Usuni as the number 9. Of course, Brandon Vasquez not being here, Usuni has to occupy that slot, occupy that role. But, Primo, I think this starting 11 is very important because I strongly believe this is going to be the team that faces Minnesota. I don't know if James will be there, but they definitely will face Minnesota next Saturday. And I think this is a strong group. It's obviously the best that you have right now. I mentioned no Mikel Dessler. He's not healthy enough to go. Brendan Vasquez still has a little bit to go until he's 100% healthy. And then Owen Wolf, another player that has just maybe a smidge left of recovery to do before he can really get back onto the pitch. He was at the meet and greet today with fans at the Domain North side. So a lot of people were able to get his signature. He's a big fan favorite, as you could tell because of the line that was out there. I saw that it was wrapping around. So Owen Wolf is a very popular lad. He obviously made a name for himself last season and also years before that. But Primo, do you agree with me when I say that this will most likely be the starting lineup against Minnesota next week at Q2 Stadium? I mean, it seems like everybody would be there.
Yeah, I think this is going to be for sure that starting lineup. I think you want to get that starting lineup at least a go, good feel before that first official match. So yeah, I have no doubt that this is the starting lineup. Everyone that is on here, I think, has is probably the best option in that position for now. Keeping in mind the guys are out. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with this lineup. I think this is the strongest lineup right now that we got. I'm excited to see Joseph Rosales, which right off the bat, you can kind of tell that this guy was going to start. So I'm excited to see how he starts off, how he goes against his former team. He's going to go against his former team, so that's exciting. I was trying to see what Minnesota looked like in their preseason. I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting these results, but
they don't have a We're Austin TV. I think that's the problem.
Right. When I think this is their 10th year. I think this is going to be their 10th season. So and I think this isn't the first time we faced Minnesota on Matchday One. I think
it's not.
This seems kind of familiar. So, I mean, it's all there. I think the roster looks good. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think that this team's going to look like coming out?
Well, number one, I know that Minnesota is not the first time that we play them on opening day, because when my daughter was born, or when my wife was going into labor, we were literally leaving Q2 Stadium, and she was like, "Hey, it's time," and I was like, "Oh my God, let's go!" And me and my little brother, we jetted to the hospital and whatnot. And I always remember it was against the Loons. If I'm not mistaken, they won 2-1 that game. So it's something to that's always gonna be burned into my memory. But looking at this lineup, Primo, like I said, this is going to be the group that goes out there and faces Minnesota. The defense, I think, is business as usual. John Gallagher is just a guy you cannot get rid of because of his availability. He's always there, ready to go, ready to fight. Diego said that he's Austin's Valverde. He's you can play him at any position. He's going to give you the same effort. And I actually like that comparison because John Gallagher looks like the kind of guy that if you disrespect his wife or his children, he'll wait for you in the locker room, in the parking lot, and he'll put one right in your chin, give you a little knuckle sandwich. So Valverde and Gali, I like that comparison. I'm not gonna lie, but no, I'm very excited to see Facundo Torres. He's gonna be out there. I'm very excited to see Mirto Suni, maybe a redemption arc for him. And like you said, another storyline to watch next week is Joseph Rosales against his former side. When we had the interview with him at the St. David's Performance Center, he didn't hold back, Primo. He said he was like, nah, I want to play against them. I want to play against this team. Like no love lost at all. And I think maybe he holds a little bit of he holds something against them because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Primo, based off of some other interviews that he did, Minnesota maybe held on to him when they could have let him go to some bigger teams, either in Mexico or Europe. If I'm not mistaken, I know Tigres was there. That transfer fell through. But I think he holds some kind of, I don't want to say hate, but he holds a little bit of something there against Minnesota. And I'm wondering if we're going to see it Saturday. I love his energy and what we're able to see like New York whenever we were there in games that were streamed. I liked his energy or whatnot, his movement, his hunger to go forward. I really like that about him. So I'm excited to see where Coach Nico deploys him. Either it's going to be on the left or it's going to be on the right, because we've seen him in both positions in this preseason. So that's something that I'm going to keep an eye on. Now, also talking about the midfield, you have Danny Pereira, no-brainer. Ilya Sanchez, this is a player that I thought Primo was going to have maybe less minutes going into this year. We know that he's now a veteran player. You have guys like Dubersarski and Salovic that should be stepping up to take Ilya's minutes. I'm not going to say to take his lunch money and whatnot, but, Ilya's not going to be able to give us 90 minutes consistently. And I think Dubi and Salovic are those guys that are going to be able to give you those minutes exactly. But before we get into Savo and Viru, because of some things that went on in this match, I'm very keen on Dubersarski. What I saw against New York City FC, I thought that he had great energy out there. It seems like he's more comfortable in this city now. It's hard to relocate from Argentina, leave your entire family back there, and come to Austin and kind of try to make a name for yourself in a new league, new country, different language, new teammates or whatnot. So, if there's one change to this lineup, I think it could be Ilya for Dubersarski. But if it's Ilya, I'm happy with that. Give him 60 minutes, give him 55 minutes, and then bring on Dubersarski so he can maybe be that fighter, that closer in the midfield. And I don't want to see Salovic. I guess we can kind of get into the red card situation right now. We can bump them together, Salovic and Viru, starting off with Bersard. If I'm not mistaken, Primo, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm hoping I'm not being unfair, but he's been given multiple opportunities to show what he has on the field. He's been given chance after chance after chance. He did get a goal against RSL. Remember when RSL absolutely demolished Austin? What was it, like 3-1 or something like that? He got the header goal, and that was his first ever goal for Austin FC in MLS or whatnot. But other than that, it always seemed like he was timid on the ball. It seemed like maybe he was afraid to, take a risk in the midfield with the ball at his feet. You could say, hey, well, he's a new father. He's getting acclimated to the league or whatnot. But he's been given a lot of opportunities to be able to really show something to the Austin FC fans. I think he's another player that this is a make or break season for him. It's his sophomore year. So I want to be fair in the sense that if we're giving Mirto Suni the sophomore year chance, I'm going to give Bersard Salovic the sophomore chance as well. This red card, however, does set him back a little bit, at least in my eyes. I thought it was out of character. I thought it was childish because the bump in the back from the SKC player, to me, it was regular. To me, it was normal, unless there was something said, like when Zidane headbutted Materazzi. You know what I'm saying? Unless there was a verbal thing that was said when there was a bump in the back, okay, maybe the reaction is at least maybe called for or whatnot. But to lash out like that in preseason when there's just about 20 minutes left before you get on a plane and go to Austin. I just didn't like that from Salovich. He swings his elbow, looks like he swings his arm, direct red card. I mean, if I was the coach, I'm making this lad run miles. I'm making this lad run miles around the field. That's what happened to us in high school. We would have gotten in big trouble with our coaches. And I don't want to say that it's discipline issues. I don't want to say that at all because Salovich is a quiet guy. He seems pretty chill. But I thought it was unnecessary. I thought it was just uncalled for to just swing your arm like that at a player in preseason and see a direct red card. But that event triggered another event, Guilherme Biro. In my opinion, it seemed as if it was a retaliation tackle. Like, Primo, if I'm being honest, and I want to maybe give this benefit of the doubt to Biro, if I see somebody foul you or if I see somebody piss you off, I'm going at the guy as well. You know what I'm saying? But Guilherme Biro, the tackle that he got, that he just, oh my days, bro, why are we doing this? And it's not like Biro is an angel. It's not like he's calm or whatnot. He does this, man. I mean, we saw against the Galaxy, the tackle against Ricky Puig. He wanted to swing on the coach and the players on the sideline. I don't think that there's discipline issues with Salovich, but I'm starting to get a little bit of concern with Guilherme Biro. If there's a moment where things escalate in an official match, Guilherme Biro is a liability to get a red card, mate. And you don't want to leave your team down to 10 in important matches, in playoff chasing matches, in a U.S. Open Cup match, in a Leagues Cup match. And watch out, Primo, because other teams watch film. They might identify Guilherme Biro's short temper as an opportunity to get underneath his skin. And that's what I don't like. That's what I don't want. And it's not like, oh, the LA Galaxy was once. No. It's not just one situation now. Biro has this in him, mate, where he is going to lash out. He's going to do what he wants. The slide tackle was, again, uncalled for. It was just I don't even want to say out of character because we're starting to see what the character is of Biro when he's on the field or whatnot. And I will also say this. It shows passion. It shows dedication. You're fighting for your teammates. You're fighting for your brothers. But, mate, it's 15 minutes left in preseason, brother. Finish out the match. Get on the plane. Go back to Austin and put that energy in Minnesota. Luckily for this team, if I'm not mistaken, I know that there was some conversation on the chat that this could spill into the first day of MLS. I don't think that they're going to be suspended, and that's good because you saw Biro's name on the starting lineup, which we're projecting for that Minnesota match. We don't see Salovich in there. But if Biro was to be suspended for this game, of course, you can slot in John Bell. You can slot in Jan Kolmanic. Fine. Perfect. It's preseason. I understand that maybe frustrations were high at the moment because of what was going on in those 15, 20 minutes, but we got to have cooler heads. We got to have cooler heads in these moments. And I'll just leave it at that. I like the passion that Biro shows. I like the fight that Biro, gives Austin FC fans. But if this is really a problem, then other opponents, other teams are gonna identify him as someone you can get underneath his skin, get a double yellow card, or even get a direct red card from some kind of reaction from him. And I want him to be careful. And I hope the coach talks to him. I hope Nico talks to him and he tells him exactly what I just told you right now. Hey man, you can't leave us down to 10 men when the season kicks off. Get this out of your system in preseason, cool. But once the season kicks off, calmao, Biro. But do you see what I'm saying, Primo? How this can maybe be a liability moving forward?
Yeah, no, for sure. Hopefully the way I see it is hopefully these guys see it as just preseason. It's like, man, maybe I can act a little reckless, what's going to happen. And hopefully it's, taken in that sense. Because you can't be doing those, silly mistakes, or not even mistakes, but you can't even, act that silly in the regular season. Imagine that's an official season game and two guys out in such a silly fashion. It's crazy. Beato's kind of known to be a little bit of a hothead.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's a way to kind of convert that in like in a positive manner. You get that. You do a good slide tackle. You body up with an attacker. You that's you can use it in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And fans are going to appreciate that at the end of the day. You want to do that in front of your fans, in front of. So, but to do all that in the preseason, 15 minutes left, it's the last game. Maybe emotions were high. I don't know. Maybe they're a little bit frustrated, but it's you shouldn't be getting yourself in those situations. Salvich, I think, is it me? Did he have a scuffle last year in preseason too? With
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, he did. He did. If I'm not mistaken, it was something like that where Sawic got involved in something like that or whatnot. So, is this again, bro? Is this something that other
I
teams are
think
gonna maybe identify? It's like, hey, we can get underneath this guy's skin easy, easy.
hopefully it's just a preseason thing. Hopefully it's just
Yeah.
let me get it out. It's preseason type thing, but yeah, not a good look for sure.
No, and just last thing on this topic, on the discipline topic or whatnot. I mean, when I was playing, I was known to get a yellow card every single game. I mean, there was times where if I didn't get a yellow card, I felt like I wasn't present in the match as a defender. And I had ex teammates that I ran into, and we played club football, and then we played high school, and then we played in high school. Lanier versus Reagan, Lanier versus McCallum, Lanier versus um, LBJ, Lanier versus Crockett or whatnot. I saw my club teammates all the time, and I pumped the shit out of them. I was times where I would step on their cleats. There was time, but you got to get away with it, bro. I was great with getting away with red cards. Shout out to my good friend Edwin. It was one time where we were playing. He went to East Side. He was the at that time I had converted to center back, and he was the number 9, and he was 1v1 against the keeper, and I was about 2 feet behind him. I was kind of slow. He was very fast, but I was keeping up with him. And I yanked him, bro. I pulled the crap out of his jersey. You know what I'm saying? But I knew, listen, Primo, I knew that the referee was behind me. I knew the referee was behind me, and I used my body to shield the yank. You know what I'm saying? So the ref didn't see who pulled him, right? The ref gave the yellow card to our keeper because he thought our keeper had brought him down, and it was just outside the box. So I was like, I'm just outside the box. I got to bring this guy down now before I cause a penalty in the box. You know what I'm saying? You got to have the awareness. You got to know where the referees are at. You got to get away with it is what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to swing your elbow like that, if you're going to make one of the nastiest tackles preseason has ever seen, I can't defend you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like if you try to get away with it, if you try to maybe sneak it in, all right, I'll put my hands into the fire for you. You know what I'm saying? But with Salavic and with Bidu, at least against SKC, I was just disappointed at the last reactions that they had. I mean, we got to be cooler. We got to have calmer heads or whatnot. And I'm not going to pretend to be an angel. Like I just explained, I was a very physical defender as well. But you got to get away with it. You got to get away with it. And it's possible. People get away with fouls all the time. One of my coaches literally growing up, he said, hey, when you're defending a corner kick, you know how you're maybe in like, you're waiting for the cross to come in or whatnot. You're guarding your guy, right? You got your hands around him or whatnot. He used to, I never did this, but he used to tell me, he was like, get your fist, hit hit his, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever you're starting to make the motion to run, hit him in his, yeah. And I was like, coach, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I used to do it all the time. I was like, I'm not going to do that, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then one time we were playing Travis and I was left back and their forward, it was a throw in for them. Their forward, when he was making the motion to run, he swung his elbow, boom, hit me straight right here on my chest. And I looked at the referee and I was like, ref, you didn't see that? You didn't see that? And the ref was like, I didn't see anything. And I was like, and even then I was like, bro, he got away with it. I was like, that was very smart because in the motion of him running, swung his elbow and it looked so natural. I was surprised by it. I was like, man, that's a good trick there, bud. So
It
just
happens all the
boys,
time, man. It
just get
happens in
away
live
with it.
TV. It happens on live TV. It happens on 4K, dude. And they still get away with it.
That's all I wanted to say, bro. If you're gonna be dirty, make sure to get away with it. And there's ways to get away with it. All right, we can close that topic right there. SKC's goals came from Jovalic header at minute 40, 42, if I'm not mistaken. Inside Stuber's small area. And then the second goal came from Shalaway after Beto was already sent off. SKC got a red card themselves after the Beto situation. So 3 red cards in one preseason game. Madre mia, what were we doing in this match? Both teams send them to the principal's office. Both kids are in trouble, not just Austin. SKC, you're in trouble as well. Go call your parents. We're going to have a parent-teacher meeting. I've had a couple of those myself. But all righty, mate. Like I said, the next one counts. If they win against Minnesota, nobody will ever talk about the preseason in 2026. But it depends on the players. It's up to these guys to, show that, hey, preseason, nah, man, we were just trying new things. We were bonding. We were cooking out. You know what I'm saying? If you win Saturday, that's what people are going to be thinking about. If you lose Saturday, I guarantee you folks are going to say, well, because of their poor preseason, this is what we're going to get the rest of the year. How you practice is how you perform. That's what a lot of folks are already saying right now. So I just want to say, if they win Saturday, all of this goes out the window. And honestly, I think they can get the job done. I think they have the talent to get the job done. There's players that are going to be missing, like Owen Wolf, Brandon Vasquez, of course. But Minnesota, they shouldn't be the hardest team to beat. You've done it before. You're at home. You're going to have the fans backing you or whatnot. So win Saturday, and this all goes out the window, Primo. But enough of the preseason chat, mate. I wanna move on to some other topics here on the pod. Brandon Vasquez had a recent interview with the Soccer Cooligans. Also, another interview that just dropped literally tonight. I saw that the North End Pod Boys had a small chat with Danny Pereira on their pod. I got to catch a little bit of it before we got on here, but pretty much it's more like Danny Pereira. They recorded it before the SKC match, so I thought that was pretty interesting. I would have loved to hear Danny's take after this SKC match, but just kind of what they've been trying in preseason, what they've been doing. He mentioned that it was a great bonding experience to go to CVI with this group of guys. So hey, bonded. Got some new ideas out there or whatnot, and Danny Pereira says that they're ready for Saturday. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But Brandon Vasquez, he sat down virtually with the Soccer Cooligans. Shout out to those lads. I've actually never met them before, but we follow them on social media. Good group of lads. Very funny as well. They bring in humor with soccer, so I think that's really cool. But pretty much this interview with BV9 was about his health, his status, his injury status, talking about Monterrey, talking about Liga MX, his time with Austin FC, his reception, the fans. It's about 20, 25 minutes. You can go ahead and check it out. It's on their YouTube. We've posted a couple of clips from that interview. Also, Verde Nation has also posted a couple of clips from that interview as well, and we'll bring them up here on the screen. The first one that we have here, Brandon Vasquez pretty much given a timeline. He says that he's really close. He thinks a month from now he'll be in full team training with no limitations. But he also said, Primo, that he still has to go 4 weeks in training before he can officially go onto the pitch 100%. So, as soon as those full practices start with no limitations, you got to put a 4-week timer in your brain or wherever you want to set it. That's when BV9 will come back. As soon as he starts going 100% in training, 4 weeks later, he can play with Austin FC based on what he told the Soccer Cooligans. And I'm sure the great medical staff that Austin FC also has him on that strict timeline. And hey, I think they've done a phenomenal job so far. Brandon Vasquez also mentioned that his knee feels really strong, but that he knows he can't play on it yet. He doesn't want to have a setback. And folks on Instagram, when we posted this first quote that I showed on screen here, they were saying, "Oh, Brandon, don't rush it. Oh, Brandon, just wait." And I said, hey, he's been doing a phenomenal job. He's been dedicated to this whole rehabilitation process. And I'm sure the medical staff is not going to rush him back. There's no way they're going to rush him back. And we know now that after he's in full practice, full training with no limitations, 4 weeks later, he will be able to fully be ready to go with Austin FC, talking about getting minutes on the pitch in official matches. And I can't wait for that. Brandon Vasquez was one of the biggest signings Austin FC has made in their club history. I think he's the second most expensive signing behind Mirto Usuni. But another quote here, Primo, before I get your take, talking about the fans. Were you at this event, Primo, at the Fairmont? I wasn't there, but were you there?
Yes, I was actually.
You went,
I was
right?
there
You
with with Logan
Ozzy?
and Aaron.
Oh, you're right. They were there, right? So Brandon Vasquez, he recalled this moment, and he said that it was very nice. He said that It was the first interaction with the fans. It was incredible, and it made him feel at home. He also said that his family felt the same way, and that it solidified what they thought it was going to be when he signed for Austin FC. So I thought that was cool. I thought that was great. I tagged all of the Austin FC supporters groups, Firm, La Murga, Austin Anthem, Los Verdes, because it was it's not just one supporters group anymore in Austin. Everybody comes together, and they were all out there at the Fairmont when they received Brandon Vasquez. He also talked about this is more of the 1 month, the one training limitations graphic from Verde Nation. This one here is what I meant to put up. Talking about the World Cup, Brandon Vasquez says that he's really just focusing on what he can control, and that's being healthy and helping his team win. Whatever happens outside, it is what it is. And also another thing, in this interview with the Soccer Cooligans, he said that as soon as he hit the ground in San Jose at PayPal Park when he got injured, immediately he started making math in his head. He was saying, man, I'm going to be out for this much. I'm going to be out. Hopefully I can make the World Cup. But he said that the thing that hurt the most, Primo, and this hit me, bro. He said that as soon as he hit the ground, he said he knew that he wasn't going to be able to play with his son for a long time. And I was like, damn, bro. That's a tough one. We know that he's a father. Me as a father myself, I love to play with my little girl. But, being, I guess kind of handicapped for a little bit, you got a cast on your foot, you're recovering, you're going to, physical therapy or whatnot. It takes time away from your family and from being a father, or taking your kid to the park, or going down the slide with your kid, or kicking the ball with your son. Of course, Brandon Vasquez wants his kid to be a soccer player just like him. I'm sure his father, Brandon Vasquez's father, wants that as well. So he said that was a really hard one to swallow. But I think that also fueled him, Primo. We saw his dedication in the rehabilitation process. And I think that, all those things that I just mentioned, it really just kept pushing Brandon Vasquez to get back as soon as possible. So last thing that I'll show on here, Primo, before I get your take on this Brandon Vasquez interview, BB9 says, and I'm not going to lie. I call cap. I call cap on this one, bro. I call cap on this one, bro. I call cap. Brandon Vasquez said that Austin has been one of those teams that has always been on his list of teams that he would want to play for. Mate, I appreciate the words. I appreciate the words. I appreciate it. But killing it with Cincinnati, playing with Rayados, knowing you're Superman Brandon Vasquez, you're a World Cup caliber kind of striker. Austin was really one of the teams that you've always wanted to play for? Again, Primo, I appreciate the words, bro. But I'm calling cap on this one. I'm calling cap. I think it's just PR. I think it was phenomenal. Like I said, I appreciate the words. But, hey, if it's true, I love it, Brandon Vasquez. But I don't know if he's always wanted to play for Austin. He's from he's from Cali. I think San Diego would have been on his bucket list. Tijuana might have been on his bucket list as well, but what do you think? Am I reaching here? I know folks say that I reach a lot. What do you think?
Maybe I don't know, dude. I don't know. Maybe. When I heard that part, I was gonna ask you on that. I was gonna ask you if some of those answers were like those PR type of answers. Yeah. But he kind of follows up with that Austin's kind of like becoming that city where people want to move to. So I don't know if it's kind of that type of thing where yeah, especially for I think these family guys, I think these family men, the dads, the husbands, I think they want to find a good place for their family also, and a lot of them 100%. have complimented Austin in that sense. I think it was during the presser for Facundo or in an interview, he was saying that he had reached out to Felipe Martins.
Yeah.
Since they had spent some time in Orlando, he kind of had that connection with him. Reached out to him, asked him about Austin, like, hey, what's Austin like? How's it like playing there? And Felipe Martins had nothing but good things to say about Austin. Apparently,
yeah, Facu did say that. You're right, Facundo
did
say that.
And so maybe Austin's kind of has that kind of pull. He also brought up the fan base. He also brought up how it's one of the best fan bases in the league, I think. So maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough to bring these guys over. So, but yeah. As far as Brandon Vasquez saying it, I think maybe.
What this made me think of? You know, this made me think of. It made me think of. You know how Alvaro Morata got cooked a bunch of times, where he was like, "Oh, it's always been my dream to play for Chelsea. It was always my dream to play for Atleti. It was always my dream." Da, da, da." It made me think of that. It made me think a little bit of that. But with the context that you added, I should have mentioned that as well. Well, we know that there's former Austin FC players that have stayed here, like Ethan Finley. He now works for the offices for the club. You know, he's like a corporate guy now. He's a great corporate guy. We also have Jazzy Zardes, who I see sometimes at the academy games. His son is an absolute baller. You remember, bro? Do you remember the other day when we had the pod and I was going on a rant on John Zardes, and I was telling everybody, I was like, bro, this is a baller. Literally, a couple days later, OPM Soccer posted one of his free kicks. Brother, this kid is 12, 13 years old, getting free kicks off that I haven't seen grown men ever do in their life. I mean, I just wanted to say that. I mean, just so folks say like, oh, he's just promoting Zardes. No, he has talent. And I just wanted to put that out there. But Zardes stayed in Austin. Ethan Finley stayed here in Austin. And you're right, brother. I mean, you're right. Austin is that city where we've seen it. We're born and raised here. We've seen so many people move into town. You know, we've seen so many people, make this their new home, both just, middle class folks and just like us. I consider myself middle class. And also we've seen, people from the upper echelons of, like the tech bros. We've seen guys like Elon Musk come down here. We've seen a bunch of companies make Austin their HQ. So hey, maybe that had a big push. Maybe that was a big reason why Brandon Vasquez, did want to have Austin FC as maybe one of his bucket lists. But or one of his bucket list teams, or one of the teams that he's always wanted to play for. But it just kind of took me out a little bit. I was like, really? Thank you for the words, Brandon. I really appreciate it, but I didn't think he was gonna. I didn't think he was gonna say that. I didn't think that Austin was gonna be a team that he's always wanted to play for. But if it is, I mean, it just goes to show what the city is doing, how much the brand is growing here when we're talking about soccer. Q2 is one of the most beautiful soccer specific stadiums in the country. So maybe when Austin was coming out in 2021 and Brandon Vasquez got the word of it, he was thinking, hey, you know what? And no, you know what, brother? You know what? Brandon Vasquez used to, not used to always, but he was vacationing in Austin before. I remember seeing him at La Barbecue, and he posted a story. And I remember I screenshotted that. And I remember back then we didn't have a Discord, but I posted it on the story, and I was like, Brandon Vasquez to Austin? Just to stir things up. And Cincinnati fans didn't like that. They were saying, "Oh, he's just vacationing down there. Don't worry about it. Yada yada, this and that." So hey, maybe the barbecue scene and that kind of life pulled Brandon Vasquez to Austin, and he's a young guy. He probably just really likes the city. This city is for young people. So hey, maybe I'm reaching 100%, but you can't blame me because it's just a young club. Brandon
That
Vasquez
one did
played for
stand out.
Monterrey. You know,
Yeah, that one did stand out because it caught me off guard too. I was like, really, like, awesome.
it stood out. It stood out. I was like, okay, maybe we're not appreciating Austin as much as Brandon Vasquez
Maybe,
is. So,
maybe we're not.
you know, shout out to BB. Shout out to BB. But anyways, he should be back very soon. Wait on it. He's feeling strong. He's feeling healthy, but there's still a little bit of time to go. But it's the final stretch. He's done so well. Just get this final stretch over with, and we'll see him in Miami, folks. We'll see Brandon Vasquez in Miami. We'll see what the timeline goes on there. Man, I need to get a haircut, brother. But anyways, another thing that I wanted to talk about, Primo, we talked about this on the Spanish pod, but the club has agreed to trade a 2026 international roster spot to the Galaxy for 240,000 in 2026 GAM. This is another loan move like the RSL one. This does mean that Jorge Alastoy will very, very likely not see those first team minutes. There's weird MLS rules in here. If you don't have that international roster spot, I think those short-term loan agreements cannot be used on him, if I'm not mistaken. So unless he gets a green card, he's going to be getting a lot of FCito minutes. And, he's a phenomenal player at the next pro level or whatnot, but I'm not going to lie. Initially, I was maybe upset at the fact that they had traded this international roster spot to LA Galaxy, but I also understood. I also understood where Rodo was coming from. I understood why he did it. We know that Austin, GAM-wise, they're in a poor position, the lowest the lowest in the league, the lowest. And even from that amount that Austin was shown on that chart, that's not counting what they already used. So that's already lower, mate. So it's already lower than what that initial number was. So these moves, they bring in more flexibility. They bring in more money to the club, GAM-wise or whatnot. And we also can't ignore the fact that these international roster spots are selling like hotcakes. I mean, they're it's like gold and silver, bro. It's like Bitcoin. Honestly, I mean, it's trending down, Bitcoin, but gold and silver is just going up. And these international roster spots remind me very much of those two things. I mean, those two precious metals. I mean, the international roster spot in MLS is very important. Everybody needs them. Everybody wants more of them. And a lot of clubs are willing to pay top dollar. And we saw that this offseason. We saw, if I'm not mistaken, it was Colorado that either sold them or bought them, but they were in that. It was an $800,000 amount for two of those roster spots for the entire year. Austin, Robo, loaned them out. So I thought that was a good amount of business. I thought that was very good what Robo was able to do with very little time to work with or whatnot. And it was a tough decision to make. It was a very tough decision to make because I think a lot of folks were calling for Alastoy to be called up to the first team. He's like that number 10, that kind of creative guy or whatnot. We heard Coach Nico say that there was 3 games left until they decided on his future. But because of market trends, because of recent sales, I don't blame Robo. I mean, people are throwing crazy amount of money for these international roster spots. And that's one thing Austin needs right now. Dinero, the money, the GAM. And they come back in July when the most important market to get international players opens. Why do I say that, Primo? Because in the winter, it's very difficult to get a guy like Jack Grealish make a move to MLS and leave his team in the Premier League when they're maybe pushing for a title or they're pushing for top 4 or they're pushing for European spots, right? It's more probable to get a guy like Griezmann in the summer when they're open to these moves than in the winter when they're locked into their European sides, when they're in the middle of their season. So it just makes a lot of sense to loan these things out, get you some money, and when the most important window for international players, in my opinion, opens up, you get 2 of them back. And I think once that comes around, folks are going to realize, okay, this is why he did it. Oh, okay, this makes sense. So, like I said earlier, initially I was upset because I think maybe I might be the loudest voice pushing for Jorge Alastoy to go up to the first team. Last year, when I was at literally 99% of the Austin FC 2 games, I was talking to important people out there and I was saying, hey, Jorge Alastoy, when? And all they would tell me was soon, calma, soon. Okay, that's fine. So I really do think I'm the loudest voice pushing for Jorge Alastoy to come up to the first team. But I also understand that this difficult decision needed to be made. And now I'm looking at Alastoy thinking, hey, man, what is your reaction going to be? Are you going to be locked in? Is this going to affect you mentally? Did you think you were ready and now you're mad because they don't think you're ready, or they sold this spot and now you're maybe in the same position or whatnot? I want to see Alastoy say, hey, you know what? This is not going to affect me. I'm going to go harder in the paint to lock that position in. And hey, what if he comes up with a green card? I think that'll be phenomenal too. If he comes up with a green card, if the club helps him with that. But that's a whole other topic. That's a whole other podcast. There's a whole other rabbit hole. But your thoughts, Primo, on maybe some of the things that I just said.
I mean, I think it's just interesting how you're able to, sell these spots, get some kind of money from them, and at the end of the day, I think it kind of just says that they're really confident in this team that they got going
Yeah.
into match day one, because the window doesn't close till another I think a few weeks maybe, or
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
closed already? Right, we still
Yeah.
got a
No, I
couple
think I
weeks,
think
I
there's
think.
still a little bit of time. There's still a little bit of time. I think until March.
Still a little bit of time, and so to kind of just be like, okay, this is what we got, and we're good. I think Facundo Torres was probably just that last piece, and that GAM account. I think we've always kind of been known as that team. I think it's always been high. I think it's always been on the high end, and so maybe it could create a little bit of panic. And they just want to build that back up. All that is super useful when it comes to big transfers, especially in the summer, like you mentioned. You don't get really these big names in the winter, but for sure in the summer. And who knows, we might need to build up. We might need to rebuild a little bit by then, depending on how the season goes. But at the end of the day, smart move from Bro. Smart move for sure for getting rid of both of them. Loaning them out is, I think, the craziest part. Loaning them out. Like you mentioned, you had Colorado that did the whole season for them. I'm just interested on knowing like how it works when you loan them out. Like does that other team, does it just give them time to figure out what to do with that player? Do they got to move them? What happens to the team after they lose that spot?
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, that's a really good point, because if the Galaxy goes after an international player and then they lose the spot in the summer, what's going to happen to that? So maybe they're going to be working on Greek cards or whatnot. So
yeah.
that's a really good point, Primo. What's going to happen there? But what we know is, hey, it's coming back in July. It's coming back unless Austin maybe says, hey, oh, what if the Galaxy one, they haven't, it's almost like a perfect trap. The international spot comes back to Austin. If you want it, $300K, 60,000 more. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be a leverage deal. You know what I'm saying? It could be used like that. So, I think Rodo played his cards well here. Like I said, I wanted Alasto to make it to the first team. It's not over yet. It's not by any means is it over yet, but it was a difficult decision to make. But I think it was the right decision ultimately. And I want to applaud Rodo. I think that was a great move. He's bringing money to the club. I've heard folks maybe ask for Reina to come back or whatnot. You want more Cascante contracts, 800,000. You want more Rigoni triggers in contracts. Be my guest. You want more of those kind of things. Sure, bring them back, and let's get back into the financial situation that the club is still trying to get out of. And it is what it is. Folks don't really want to get into that. They see the negative side of things. They see the negative side of things, and they scream it. But when there's positive things done in the financial market, in the financial sector of the club, and it's very hush hush. I think this is one of the things where it's like, hey, damn, bro, good stuff, But like I said, they come back in July, and we could just leave it at that, mate. Now, one of the last couple of things to talk about here on the pod, Sportico ranks Austin FC as the 7th most valuable club in MLS. This is third-party information. I know a lot of folks were saying like, oh, this doesn't really matter. This is all fugazi, fake numbers. It's inflated prices or whatnot. It's Sportico, it's news. We put it out there. I understand if maybe you think this is inflated prices or whatnot, but I think real estate prices go into it as well. Austin Stadium is a very beautiful Soccer Pacific and a very important piece of the city. The St. David's Performance Center probably also adds into this value or whatnot. So it doesn't surprise me that Austin is within the top 10. And thinking about cities, Primo, thinking about like the country, if you look at these cities, you got Miami, Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York, Seattle, Columbus is what in Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, which is in the same little region there, and then San Diego. These are pretty important cities in the country, if I'm not mistaken. And it feels a little bit like a pride moment to see Austin climb these ranks and be up there with these teams. Austin is not a Kansas City. Austin is not a Montreal. It's not like a Ross Salt Lake. This is Austin, Texas, man. And maybe this is what Brendan Vasquez was kind of hinting on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is a city that's been growing, and a lot of factors go into this valuation. And one thing to note in this list, Primo, Austin dropped the spot. They dropped the spot, but they went up 5% in revenue. Seattle jumped them. You can see there barely by 5 million. But I think a lot of that Seattle's financial success had to do with their incredible run. I mean, they won Leagues Cup. They completed their entire trophy cabinet. I think they've won everything in MLS that there is to win, if I'm not mistaken. They have a fantastic trophy cabinet. I mean, they're one of the best teams in this league. And also, they had a really cool moment where they were exchanging the Messi jerseys for the Paul Rothrock jerseys. So, I mean, that probably brought in, some kind of money or whatnot. So, Austin drops a spot, but they gained 5% in revenue. And also they brought in some new ownership at the middle of 2025. We got Jenny Justin there. She's a boss lady. We also got Matt Holziger there. He was at the first media availability that we were allowed to, or we were able to see 15 minutes of the team training. We identified him there. He was with Rodo and Anthony Precourt. So, all of that goes into this valuations, and it's just cool to see, cool to know. It's just like a small little fun fact. Austin is the seventh most valuable club in MLS, and look at Anthony Precourt smile. He's happy. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And I think this was his vision all along. I know he gets a lot of criticism, Primo, because of what he tried to do with the Columbus Crew and relocate them or whatnot. But he saw that there was an untapped market here in Austin, and Austin FC is still the only professional sports team in the city. We have the Longhorns. We love the Longhorns, but they're a college football team, right? They also get all the attention in Austin, but Austin is slowly starting to come up or whatnot. You see that the Spurs try to get into the Austin market. They have the Austin Spurs, you know what I'm saying? So it's a market that has a lot of, and I've heard rumors of an MLB team trying to come to Austin. There was rumors of the Bills using Austin as like a leverage point to try to get their new stadium up there for NFL. So there's been potential in the city for so long, but Anthony Precourt and his team, they knew that what was down here. They had the vision, they executed or whatnot, and you can be critical of the way that he tried to do it. I understand it 100%, but that's history, and the reality now is that his vision to bring Austin, or to bring a professional team to Austin, has been paying off. At least in the financial side of things, because I did see a lot of fans in the comments say, "Oh, well, start playing like it. Start playing like you're valued at that amount, like you're the seventh most valuable team in MLS." And I agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, the results need to come on the pitch. If you win games, more butts will be in your stadium, more jerseys will be bought, and that money will just go up. You know what I'm saying? So if Austin is able to do this with the limited amount of success that they've had in MLS seasons, wait until they, what is it going to look like when they were able to get, trophies in the cabinet, when they're able to get, consistent good seasons together. That value is only going to skyrocket. And the last question that I have for you, Primo, is, do you think that Austin will ever jump into the top five? I mean, Miami, LA, Atlanta, and New York, bro. Can Austin compete with those four cities, with those four teams?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we can make it into the top three. I think. If I'm being honest,
Oh,
I think we can get into
okay.
the top three.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I think we can make it into the top. Honestly, wait, never mind. New York City up there at four,
It's tough, bro. It's
and they're about to
tough.
get that new stadium and all that good stuff
Yeah,
out there. So maybe
yeah.
that was a little bit of a reach, but maybe top five. Maybe I think we can beat Atlanta into that top five. I don't know. Atlanta's hot. I think they play in that Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Maybe that gives them a little bit of a boost.
Hmm.
But I think we can crack into the top five. I think we're almost there. But top three, I take that back. I saw New York City up there. Maybe we can jump LA Galaxy at one point.
Mm.
But I just LAFC, Miami. I mean, you know why they're up there.
Yeah, big cities, big
Yeah.
cities. I mean, I'm happy to be in the top 10, but top five will be a big achievement. I mean, that'll really mean that Austin is like a destination city, because these are also destination cities. I mean, you have Messi going to Miami and bringing all his friends. You got Son going to LA and really just highlighting the South Korean population that's there, and just the life in LA. I mean, we've been to LA. It's so many things to do. You leave LA thinking, man, I forgot to go to this, or I didn't have time to go to that, because there's so many things to do in LA. I mean, the Galaxy take that you had, maybe because they play in Carson, it's not really LA. I've never been to their stadium, but it's not really in LA. It's in Carson. It's like if you played in Round Rock, you know what I'm saying, or like in Cedar Park, or like Leander or Gerald. You know what I'm saying? Like or like Georgetown. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? And then you got ATL Atlanta. I mean, I mean, Atlanta is just, so many people live there. It's just one of those destination places. Also because of the Olympics back in the day. I mean, just also the hip hop culture in ATL. I mean, it has so much going for it. You know what I mean? ATL is just massive. And then you got New York, like you said, they got the new stadium coming in soon, and the life in New York, and the whole culture up there. I mean, and then Seattle. If it wasn't for the run that they had, I think Austin would be number 6 again this year, with a 5% increase in revenue. and just kind of like a slap to the face to the Columbus Crew, money wise. I know that they're very successful on the pitch, but money wise, Anthony Precourt's vision to come down to ATX is now valued more than the Columbus Crew back there. But all righty, man. We'll close out the pod here today with some news that Rodo Borrell is scheduled to speak with the media, or is scheduled to hold a press conference on Tuesday. That is going to be very, very interesting. We're going to have Diego Valencia there working to see if we're going to have Salome there. But for sure, we will have Diego. He will be there for We Are Austin TV. And we'll see just what the sporting director has to say. I don't believe this will be streamed. I think this will be just updates or whatnot. So just keep an eye out. Wait to see the content that the independent news sources post, and also the club post or whatnot. We're talking about Verde all day. Shout out to my G Moises and Phil. Laura will also be there for sure. La Parce 512. Well, like I said, Diego Valencia will be there for We're Austin TV. I'm not sure if the North End Potter Boys will be there. They'll probably get the invite. At least I hope they do. I mean, I think they would ask Rodo like some really good questions. They have a really good pulse on everything going on with Austin. But we don't know exactly who's going to be there. We know that the media, like the legacy media in Austin will be there, like the KXANs, the CBS Austins and whatnot. So, and actually, we might even see some folks from Univision San Antonio come into town for this, because this will be a massive, massive press conference. Rodo likes to do these things, we know. And so we'll see what he has to say, Primo. But any expectations that you have for this Rodo Borrell presser?
Not too many. I think he's just gonna kind of paint everything out and lay how everything is as of right now. It's usually how these pressers go. I can't really think of what is up in the air right now. I know sometimes he'll come in when some big moves happen, like for example the Fagundes one and some other ones. He'll step in to kind of clear the room. But I think it's just probably just gonna lay out what the team looks like. If anyone has any questions on that, I think he's just ready to answer those. But I like when he does the pressers, in my opinion. I like when he comes out and shows face, and he's really straightforward with the answers too. Doesn't sugarcoat anything. I think you get the best information off of Rodo. So really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to the questions. The shout out Diego. I know he's starting to get into that role too. So I'm sure he's gonna ask some great questions, and I think it's gonna be a good presser. It's definitely a good one right before the game.
100%, mate. It's what Rodo likes to do. He's gonna provide some information, maybe some insights into the international roster moves, bringing Facundo Torres in, and no, I think there's going to be a lot of good things that are going to be mentioned in this press conference. Like we said, Rodo likes to do these things, so we'll see what he says. We'll see what new information we get out of this, but it'll be Tuesday, early in the morning, 10 a.m. So something to definitely keep an eye out for going into this week. But anyways, we can cut it off here, mate. Oh, last thing, actually. I should have mentioned this earlier, but Austin FC2 signed defender Neo Che to a 3-year guaranteed deal through the end of 2028. He is the brother of Justin Che, if I'm not mistaken. Both guys went through the FC Dallas Academy. They're German, U.S. dual nats, so that's a really fun thing to kind of keep in mind. He's represented the team in Germany at the U17 and the U19 level, making 16 appearances over there. And like I mentioned, he had a brief spell with the FC Dallas Academy. And in a video that was released by Austin FC2, you see a player that is not, one of the regulars with the Austin FC2 side. It was this gentleman, Neo Che. So he's been with Austin FC2 side for at least 2 weeks. Austin FC2 side for at least 2 weeks. I actually slipped up and I saw that his mother had followed We're Austin TV a week before this was announced, but I didn't really think nothing of it. I didn't really connect one or two. But then I saw the last name in the official press release, and I thought back to the account that followed We're Austin TV, and I was like, oh, it was right there, and I missed it. So best of luck to him. It seems like he is a solid player if they give him a 3-year guaranteed contract. You know what I'm saying?
3 years
I think they're
is
very
good,
high.
man.
3 years. Yeah. 3 years. So And one thing, a little detail about him, I was kind of, we were talking about social media earlier with the young players. Apparently, because there was no photos of this guy for an edit, bro. I had to use the one that the club dropped, and I don't like to do that, but I had to. There's no photos of him because he doesn't do Instagram. I based off of some stuff that I saw his mother post. She posted something along the lines of, "My son, now that you signed your first official pro contract, you can like start posting photos, or you can be like a social media guy or whatnot." But I think what it was is like he was so dedicated to getting his first pro contract, maybe trying to follow the footsteps of his older brother. He was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna do social media until I get my contract." So that's dedication. I mean, nowadays it's so difficult to kind of bypass social media. I feel like so much happens on there, so much news goes on, and I thought that was pretty cool to know that he's disciplined like that. To hey, maybe he has a burner, you know what I'm saying? But his official Instagram, no photos. The only photo he has on there is the collab with Austin FC announcing his signing. So I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see what exactly he's gonna turn out to, what he's gonna pan out to with Austin FC too. And if he does things right, maybe in those 3 years, we will see him play a couple of minutes with the first team. We know that our center backs aren't the youngest, and father time comes for everybody. And this is a young player. He's 3 years with Austin FC too. So we'll see what exactly that turns out to be. But I'm very excited about his signing. I see a lot of people are very high on him. And as soon as he was announced, they immediately asked, "Oh, is this so and so's brother? Is this so and so's brother?" And I was like, I think so. Most likely he is. Same last name. There's photos of them together. Same mom. So I think they are brothers. I think are they. They could be cousins, but no, they are brothers. They are brothers. So excited for him. Best of luck. And dude, I'm genuinely excited, Primo, to see the new Austin FC too. They got a lot of players in, and unfortunately, a lot of players went out. Ruben Bonachera, Peter Grogan was man of the match literally this weekend for the team that he went to. That's a little bit of a gut punch, but I mean, I knew he had that talent in him the whole
Shout
time.
out
That's why I
Peter,
was little.
man.
Shout out to Peter, Pistol Pete. But new Austin FC2 side, new coach Jason Shackle, Coach Shacks. But yeah, we can end it there, Primo. Anything else you would like to say?
Um, I mean, it's finally here next week. It's the first game, something we've been looking forward to this whole off season. I highly encourage everyone to go out. We got some new faces to check out. I'm really excited to see Facundo Torres, Jose Rosales, all the new guys that we brought in go against this Minnesota team. And who knows, maybe we might see James out there. Maybe we might see James Rodriguez in Austin. Another reason to maybe go out there. If you're, a Colombian fan, or if you're Colombian, a Real Madrid fan, it's always cool to see these players come through Austin. But it's exciting. It's exciting. Shout out to everyone that's been supporting the page so far up until now. A lot of good stuff that is gonna come out soon. Like you mentioned, the Discord and all that good stuff. Just shout out everyone that's been on there. But super excited, man. Super excited. Was it year 6?
Year 6, bro.
Year 6, man.
Year 6. I can't believe it. Sometimes I look at the pictures or videos of when we started, and I look like a young man, brother. I've aged. I've aged a little bit, bro. I've aged. You look the same, dude. You look the same, bro. You look the same. I know we've aged though, and sometimes I like look at those photos and I see those videos, and I'm like, where did the time go? Like the song, "Where did the time go?" It started to fall. And yeah, I mean, I get a little sad sometimes. I'm like, damn, bro. Time flew by, bro. It's just
Year 6, man.
year 6, brother. I mean, I'm a dad now. You know what I mean? We both have wives. We met when we were kids, bro, and we're going into year 6 now. Ah, crazy, bro. But alrighty,
It's gonna be a good
let's get
year.
out of here. Let's get out of here. We'll be back next week for sure to recap the Minnesota match. We'll see what happens at Q2 Stadium on Saturday. We'll be there. Diego will be in the conference with Coach Nico. I will be with the players. and we're gonna go from there. And there's gonna be some small changes to the fan reactions, but I found a way to save them. They were on the brink of being eliminated, but I believe I found a solution. I know a lot of people really love and like the fan reactions, and that's really what gave us our start. I feel like that's our identity in a way, and I don't want to take the mic away from the fans. I want to give them their voice at all times. So there will be some small changes in fan reactions, but bear with us. We're still going to be pumping them out there for you guys. So I believe I found a solution to save fan reactions. So have a good night, everybody. Be safe, and we'll see you soon. Ciao.